There's a question that almost no one asks after the end of a long relationship. Not, will I get over this? Not, will I find someone better? It's a quieter question, a more intimate one. Who am I now? Because when a relationship lasts for years, something happens gradually and almost invisibly. You start building your identity around us. Your plans become plans for two. Your weekends take on a shared routine. Your tastes mix with the other person's tastes. Your dreams fit into someone else's dreams. And that is not something wrong. It is natural. It is what love does. But when that relationship ends, you don't just lose a person, you lose an entire version of yourself. And that explains something that many people feel, but rarely manage to name. The feeling of not knowing what you like, of not knowing what you want to do on the weekend, of walking into a restaurant and not knowing what to order because you always let the other person choose. Small things, but things that reveal how much you had dissolved inside the relationship. There is a difference between adapting to someone and disappearing inside someone. Adapting is natural in any relationship. Disappearing is when you no longer know where the other person ends and where you begin. And rebuilding that I after the end is not simple, it is not fast, and many times it is frightening, because the silence that once felt uncomfortable begins to reveal questions you had been postponing for years. What do I actually like? What do I want for my life? What kind of person did I become during these years? And some of the answers may surprise you, because maybe you will discover that you gave up things that mattered, friends who were left behind, dreams that kept being pushed to someday, parts of yourself that were slowly silenced. But here is what no one tells you about this process. This rediscovery, as uncomfortable as it is one of the most transformative experiences a person can live through. Because when you stop being us, you finally have space to discover who I is. Not the I that existed before the relationship, not the I that the relationship shaped, but a new I, built from everything you learned, lived, and survived. The reconstruction of identity does not happen all at once. It happens when you try things you stopped doing, when you pick up conversations you left behind, when you discover that you still have opinions, tastes, and desires that are completely your own, and when you realize that being I, without needing to be us, is not loneliness, it is freedom. Book reflection. In Attached, Amir Levine and Rachel Heller explain how in long relationships we tend to emotionally merge with the other person, and how after the end, the absence of that fusion can feel like a loss of identity, not just of company. Understanding your attachment style is the first step toward building a more whole I in any future relationship. Film to reflect on. In Wild, the protagonist sets out alone on a physical and emotional journey after losing not only important people, but herself. What she finds along the way is not just landscape, it is herself, piece by piece. Emotional practice of the day. Take a piece of paper and answer, what tastes, habits, or dreams did I give up during this relationship? Is there something I stopped doing because the other person didn't like it or wasn't interested? What would I like to reclaim now that I have space to be myself again? Don't try to answer everything all at once. Let the answers arrive in their own time, because rediscovering yourself is a process, not a moment. I want to talk about something that happens very often after long relationships end, and that is rarely recognized for what it truly is. Many people come to therapy saying they miss the person, but when we explore more deeply, what they actually miss is not the other person. It is themselves within that story. The version of them that had purpose, routine, belonging. Psychologically, this relates to what we call relational identity, the part of our identity that is built inside an emotional bond. The longer and more intense the relationship, the greater the identity fusion. And when it ends, that fusion dissolves, and the person is left not knowing who they are outside of that context. The therapeutic work at this point is exactly that, helping the person separate what is theirs from what belonged to the relationship. Which values are yours? Which fears are yours? Which dreams are yours? And, little by little, building an identity that does not depend on another person to exist. This does not mean closing your heart to new connections. It means arriving at them more whole. Tell us in the comments, after a long relationship, have you ever felt like you no longer knew who you were without the other person? Share this with someone who is going through this process of rediscovering themselves. Subscribe to Ties That Hurt for more reflections on relationships, self-esteem, identity, and emotional healing.